This is not a place to find a new husband. This is a place where you come in and the Spirit of God fills it.
Thinking church is all hymns and halos? Think again. While it's definitely a place for peace and reflection, there are a few things that might get your heavenly host a little ruffled. The specific actions prohibited in a church can vary depending on the denomination or religion. From fashion faux pas to faux pas, here's our list of 20 things to avoid doing in the house of worship. Number 1, disruptive behavior. This includes anything that distracts from the worship service, such as talking loudly, walking around unnecessarily, or using electronic devices. As a matter of policy, churches are not required to tolerate anyone who disturbs religious ceremonies. It is possible for the leaders of the church to petition the court to issue an order that bar the disruptive individual from entering the premises of the church. The individual may be taken from the grounds of the church by the police and may be considered to be in contempt of court if they are discovered to have violated the order at any point. It is essential to have a solid understanding of the proper conduct that is expected in a Christian church, regardless of whether you are a first-time guest or a regular attendee. It is possible that the rules will be slightly different depending on where you are because every denomination and parish is its own distinct entity. Number 2, violence. Violence of any kind is prohibited in church. Firstly, core religious teachings often emphasize love, compassion, and forgiveness. Violence directly contradicts these values. A church should be a place where people feel safe to practice their faith and connect with something larger than themselves, free from fear of physical harm. Secondly, violence disrupts the sacred atmosphere. Churches are for prayer, meditation, and spiritual growth. Violence creates a chaotic and disrespectful environment, hindering the ability to focus on these practices. Finally, promoting nonviolence within the church walls extends outward. By practicing peace within their community, churches can set an example for the world and encourage conflict resolution through peaceful means. Number 3, theft. Stealing from the church or from other people in the church is a crime. Churches stand as sanctuaries for the soul, and theft within these sacred walls is a serious offense for several reasons, both religious and practical. From a religious standpoint, most faiths hold stealing in high contempt. It violates core principles like honesty, fairness, and respect for others' possessions. The 8th commandment, present in Abrahamic religions, explicitly prohibits theft. Stealing from a church, a place dedicated to a higher power, is seen as a double transgression, disrespecting both the faith and the community that upholds it. It can be viewed as taking advantage of a space built on trust and generosity. Practically, churches rely heavily on donations to function. These funds maintain the building, support charitable works, and pay clergy.
A collection box right off of the wall there. He then puts the box under his jacket and walks in.
Theft directly hinders these crucial operations. Stolen money means fewer resources for the church to fulfill its mission of serving the community. Imagine a church struggling to keep its doors open or help those in need because of missing donations. The impact can be significant. Furthermore, theft within a church can shatter the sense of community it fosters. Churches are built on trust and fellowship. When someone steals, it creates suspicion and a sense of betrayal. People may hesitate to contribute or even come together when they feel their space has been violated. This can have a long-lasting negative impact on the church's ability to unite its congregation. Some religions view stealing from a church as sacrilegious.
Quincy's infant statue is a frequent target. It was stolen last year, recovered in a cemetery.
They believe it's not just taking from the community, but from the divine itself. This adds another layer of seriousness, implying a transgression against a higher power. In essence, theft within a church goes beyond the stolen object. It disrespects the faith, weakens the community, and for some represents a spiritual offense. It's a violation of the very foundation upon which these sacred spaces are built. Number 4, vandalism. Damaging church property is a crime. Beyond the act of defacing or destroying property, vandalism within a church carries a deeper weight for several reasons. Churches often serve as living museums, housing priceless religious art, historical artifacts, and symbols that hold deep meaning for the congregation. Vandalism tears at this delicate tapestry of faith. It's not just about broken windows or defaced statues. It's akin to ripping a cherished page from a shared story. robbing future generations of understanding the rich history and artistic expression woven into the church's fabric. A church serves as a sanctuary for the soul, a place to find solace and connection with something larger than oneself. Vandalism shatters this atmosphere. Imagine entering a space meant for quiet reflection only to find broken windows, defaced walls, or damaged statues. This disruption creates a sense of disrespect and chaos, hindering the ability to find peace and focus on prayer or meditation. Vandalism can often be a form of targeted aggression, a symbolic attack on a particular faith or belief system. It can leave the congregation feeling unsafe and unwelcome in their own place of worship. Imagine attending church only to find hateful messages scrawled across the walls, creating a sense of unease and insecurity. This fear can extend beyond the physical space, making it difficult for people to connect with their faith freely.
What heart do you have that could do this?
The financial cost of repairing vandalism in a church can be significant. Imagine funds that could be used for vital community outreach programs, like feeding the hungry or offering shelter to the homeless, being diverted to replace broken windows or restore defaced artwork. This shift in resources hinders the church's ability to fulfill its mission of serving and uplifting the community. Vandalism in a church transcends property damage. It's a violation of a sacred space meant for peace, reflection, and respect for shared values. It's a blow to the community and a disruption of the spiritual journey many seek within its walls. Number 5, public intoxication. Being drunk or under the influence of drugs in church is disrespectful. Churches enforce a strict no-tolerance policy for public intoxication for a combination of reasons that go beyond simply maintaining order. A church is a sanctuary for prayer, meditation, and spiritual growth. Public intoxication disrupts this sacred atmosphere. Imagine trying to find inner peace amidst someone stumbling around or shouting incoherently. It creates a disrespectful and chaotic environment that hinders everyone's ability to focus on their spiritual practice. Someone who is intoxicated is less likely to be in control of their faculties. This can pose a safety risk to themselves and others. Imagine someone losing their balance and falling near a lit candle, or accidentally causing damage to valuable religious artifacts. Churches prioritize creating a safe space for everyone. Most religions emphasize values like self-control and clear thinking. Public intoxication is seen as a lapse in judgment and a violation of these principles. Being intoxicated can also lead to disruptive or offensive behavior, which goes against the respectful and welcoming environment a church strives to cultivate. Churches are often seen as a moral compass in the community. Public intoxication within the church walls can reflect poorly on the congregation. Imagine news spreading about disruptive behavior caused by intoxication, potentially discouraging others from attending or participating in church activities. Church is a place for spiritual growth and reflection. Public intoxication hinders this process. Someone who is intoxicated is less likely to be present and engaged in the service or be able to fully benefit from the spiritual message being delivered. In essence, prohibiting public intoxication in church is about creating a safe, respectful, and spiritually enriching environment for all. It's about fostering an atmosphere conducive to prayer, reflection, and personal growth. Number 6, smoking. Smoking is often prohibited in churches due to health concerns. Churches, bastions of peace and reflection, strictly prohibit smoking for a confluence of reasons. Primarily, smoke itself disrupts the sacred atmosphere. Imagine the gentle hum of prayer punctuated by coughs and the acrid scent of cigarettes. It hinders the ability to focus on meditation and spiritual connection. Moreover, smoking goes against the core values of many religions, which emphasize respect for one's body as a temple. Smoking harms that temple, and the act can be seen as disrespectful to oneself and the divine. Finally, churches often house priceless art, relics, and historical artifacts. Smoke can damage these treasures, diminishing their beauty and cultural significance for future generations. In essence, smoking in a church isn't just about personal health, it's about preserving a sacred space for all. Number 7, soliciting. Selling things or asking for money in church is inappropriate. Churches serve as sanctuaries for peace and reflection. Soliciting disrupts this tranquility in a few key ways. The act itself can be disruptive. Imagine someone approaching you during a prayer or meditation to sell something. It breaks the concentration and disrupts the spiritual atmosphere. Secondly, churches often rely on voluntary donations, and solicitation can create an uncomfortable pressure to contribute. It can feel less like a heartfelt offering and more like a sales pitch. Finally, some solicitations might promote causes that contradict the church's teachings, causing tension and disrespect within the sacred space. Overall, the goal is to maintain a haven for spiritual connection, and solicitation can hinder that pursuit. Number 8, eating and drinking. While some churches have fellowship meals, eating and drinking during worship services is generally not allowed. Imagine the potential distraction of clinking glasses or rustling food wrappers during a solemn prayer. The focus should be on spiritual matters, not on what's for lunch. Additionally, some churches hold specific ceremonies around food and drink, like communion. Having unrelated eating and drinking beforehand can diminish the significance of these rituals. Ultimately, it's about creating a dedicated space for spiritual connection, free from distractions and disruptions. Number 9, wearing revealing clothing. Some churches have dress codes that require modest clothing. Revealing clothing can sometimes be seen as a distraction from this purpose. The focus in church is on connecting with something larger than oneself, and overly revealing attire can draw attention away from the spiritual aspects of the service.
You need to realize you're coming to the holy house of God.
Additionally, many religions come from cultures with traditional views on modesty. Revealing clothing might clash with these sensibilities, and churches aim to create a welcoming environment for everyone regardless of background. The goal is to foster a respectful and focused atmosphere where everyone feels comfortable on their spiritual journey. Number 10, leaving children unattended. When attending church, children should always be under the supervision of an adult. You have the ability to bring your children to church to worship with you, and you should do so. Just make sure to keep a tight check on them and pay attention to the volume level that they are using. The majority of people are not bothered by a little bit of chatter and whining. But when a youngster becomes too irritable, they have the potential to start distracting other people who are worshiping. If your child ever engages in disruptive behavior or starts crying loudly, you should just excuse yourself. There are several parishes, including our own, that provide soundproof cry chambers where you can continue to take part in the service even after passing out. If your parish does not have a narthex or a social hall, you should just excuse yourself and go to the narthex or the social hall until your child has calmed down by that point. Number 11, don't chew gum. Gum chewing during worship distracts those standing near us, and quite frankly, is incredibly rude in most social contexts, but particularly so in God's house. A general rule of thumb, if you wouldn't do it in the presence of a king or queen, why would you do it in the house of God? Number 12, proselytizing, preaching or promoting a different religion within the church building is generally not allowed. Proselytizing, the act of actively converting others to a particular belief system, disrupts this sacred atmosphere. Imagine seeking solace in prayer only to be interrupted by someone pressuring you to adopt their views. It creates a feeling of unwelcome pressure and undermines the sense of peace a church should offer. Furthermore, churches often hold diverse congregations with varying beliefs. Proselytizing can ignite tension and division within this community. A space meant for unity and shared reflection can become a battleground for competing ideologies. Instead, churches aim to foster a spirit of understanding and respect for different religious paths. Finally, some may feel vulnerable or unsure of their faith when seeking solace in church. Proselytizing can exploit this vulnerability, pressuring individuals to make decisions that might not be genuine or well considered. Churches should be a safe space for personal exploration, not a place for forceful conversion tactics. Number 13, loud arguing. Disagreements are inevitable, but loud arguing or heated discussions can disrupt the peacefulness of a worship service. A church is a place that cultivates an atmosphere of reverence and calm. Arguments that are loud and loudly argued break this tranquilly, creating an environment that is disrespectful and chaotic. Think about the challenge of attempting to attain inner serenity in the midst of angry discussions and rising voices. It makes it difficult for everyone to concentrate on their spiritual practice, whether that exercise is quiet meditation, listening to a sermon, or simply seeking solace. The vast majority of religions place an emphasis on virtues, such as compassion, understanding, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Arguments that are audible are in direct opposition to these principles. A place of worship is a gathering place where individuals join together in a spirit of respect and unity. Disrupting this sense of dignity and creating tension within the congregation is the result of raising one's voice in argument. The mental health of each and every member of the congregation is of utmost significance. It is extremely unpleasant and upsetting for youngsters or those who are trying to find a sense of serenity when they are exposed to loud disputes. Imagine a person who, after a trying week, goes to church in search of peace, only to be confronted with the loud debate that is going on in the church. It has the potential to be emotionally upsetting and harmful to their path inside the spiritual realm. Within a community, churches have the potential to serve as guiding lights that promote peace and harmony. Arguments that take place in public within these holy walls serve as a disastrous example. Consider the scenario in which a person leaves a church after being exposed to a loud fight, possibly taking away the message that conflict and discord are acceptable ways to address difficulties. Churches are places that offer a place for people to develop their spirituality and establish a relationship with a higher power. Arguments that are too loud divert attention away from the primary goal. Instead of focusing on resolving personal disagreements, the attention should be directed towards prayer, thought, and the religious message that is being conveyed. The purpose of keeping disagreements at bay inside a church is not limited to only preserving order. Respecting the holy space, supporting the principles of the faith, protecting the well-being of others, and giving an example of peaceful conflict resolution are all important aspects of this. It makes it possible for everyone to take part in the spiritual journey that the church is trying to offer. Number 14, bringing in strong-smelling food. While some churches have fellowship halls with food service, strong-smelling meals might be distracting during a service. Strong odors can trigger allergic reactions or sensitivities in a significant number of persons. It is possible that some participants will experience discomfort or possibly be affected by medical difficulties if you bring in fragrant food. Strong scents can create an environment that is unwelcoming for people who have sensitivities, and a church attempts to be a welcoming location for everyone. Food odors that are particularly intense have the ability to remain on fabrics and upholstery, which could result in the church's valuable furniture becoming stained or else damaged. The presence of strong odors is a concern for these areas because they frequently store historical artifacts and religious goods. It's not true that everyone appreciates the same sense. When one person finds something to be wonderful, another person may find it to be overwhelming. Being considerate of the preferences of other people who are worshiping is demonstrated by not bringing food that has a strong odor. Number 15, wearing loud perfumes or colognes. Similar to strong-smelling food, overpowering scents can be distracting for others. Due to the fact that wearing perfumes or colognes that are too strong can cause allergic reactions or migraines. It can be challenging for them to participate in the service without experiencing discomfort. Churches strive to be welcoming places, and reducing the intensity of odors makes it possible for everyone to participate to their full potential. A variety of aromas are enjoyed by different people. For some people, even those who do not suffer from allergies, strong scents can be an unpleasant experience. One demonstrates regard for the preferences of others within the shared area by choosing perfumes that are less intense or by choosing not to use any fragrances at all. It's not about completely removing all aroma from the environment. In the majority of churches, a light spray of one's preferred perfume is the appropriate level of decorum. The important thing is to keep in mind the power and the possible impact that it could have on other people. Number 16, taking phone calls. Answering or making phone calls during a service is disrespectful as it shows a lack of focus on the ongoing ceremony. Churches serve as sanctuaries for peace and reflection, and taking phone calls disrupts this serenity in a few key ways. Firstly, the ringing or vibration of a phone can be startling and distracting, breaking the concentration of both the person receiving the call and those around them. Imagine a quiet moment of prayer shattered by a sudden ringtone. Secondly, phone calls introduce external concerns into a sacred space. A conversation about work or daily life can pull someone's focus away from the spiritual message being delivered or the act of prayer. Finally, taking a call suggests a lack of respect for the time and place dedicated to worship. It implies that the phone call is more important than being fully present in the service. In essence, silencing phones allows everyone to fully immerse themselves in the spiritual experience without distractions from the outside world. Number 17, talking during prayers or sermons. Quiet contemplation and listening are important aspects of worship services. During times of worship, such as prayers or sermons, talking interrupts the sacred environment. Imagine you are praying and attempting to find inner peace when someone close starts a conversation. Could you imagine the stress? Everyone is hampered in their ability to concentrate on the spiritual message since it causes a distraction for both the person who is speaking and the person who is listening. Additionally, the purpose of sermons is to convey significant religious lessons to the audience. Conversations that take place during these times can make it more challenging for other people to hear and comprehend the message that is being communicated. In essence, preserving a respectful silence enables all individuals to take part in the spiritual experience to the fullest extent possible. Number 18, leaving during prayers or sermons. Within the hushed walls of a church, a sense of reverence takes hold. This sacred space fosters prayer and reflection, and movement during sermons or prayers can be disruptive for several reasons. Imagine a preacher delivering a powerful message, a call to introspection or a reflection on faith. Constant exits and entrances during this pivotal moment can shatter the focused atmosphere. Not only does it distract the speaker from their message, but it disrupts the collective concentration of the congregation. Prayers and sermons are often communal experiences, and leaving disrupts the sense of shared focus and connection sought during these moments. Furthermore, leaving during these key rituals can be seen as a sign of disrespect. Prayers and sermons hold a special significance within the religious ceremony. They are a time for quiet contemplation, a chance to connect with something larger than oneself. Exiting during these moments can be interpreted as a lack of regard for the sanctity of the ritual itself. Finally, consistent attendance throughout the service demonstrates respect for the time and effort invested in these practices. Prayers and sermons are often carefully prepared, intended to uplift and inspire the congregation. Leaving during them suggests a lack of interest or appreciation for the spiritual message being delivered. By staying present, one shows respect for the speaker and the importance of the shared experience. Staying during prayers and sermons is about fostering a respectful and focused atmosphere within the sacred space. It allows everyone to fully participate in the spiritual journey undertaken by the congregation as a whole. Number 19, disrupting decorations or displays. Churches might have special decorations or religious displays set up, and it's important to treat them with respect and not tamper with them. Many decorations in a church hold deep symbolic meaning for the specific faith. A crucifix, for example, represents sacrifice and redemption. A menorah symbolizes the 8 days of Hanukkah. Disrupting these displays can be seen as disrespectful to the symbols themselves and the traditions they represent. It's like defacing a historical landmark. It disregards the history and significance it holds for the community. Number 20, taking photos or videos without permission. While some churches are open to photography, it's always best to ask permission before taking photos or videos, especially during a service. Churches are meticulously designed to cultivate a sense of reverence and connection with the divine. The focus should be on the spiritual message being delivered, the hymns being sung, and the act of prayer itself, not on capturing the perfect image or audio for social media purposes. A constant barrage of camera clicks and video recordings can shatter the concentration and disrupt the sacred atmosphere. Many churches hold events specifically for children, youth groups, and vulnerable individuals. Taking photos or videos without permission, especially of minors, raises concerns about privacy and potential safety risks. Parents entrust their children to the church, and respecting their privacy is paramount to maintaining that trust. Churches often house priceless artwork, historical artifacts, and treasured religious icons. While some photography might be allowed with prior permission from the appropriate authorities, uncontrolled snapping can detract from the overall experience and sanctity of the space. It is important to distinguish the act of capturing a breathtaking stained glass window from documenting a personal prayer. Many churches have designated areas for photography, and some services might even be live-streamed with prior authorization. That's all for now. Be sure to like this video and subscribe and turn on post notification to be the first to know when the next video is up.